Welcome to Bitching and Moaning, the podcast where we talk shit, spill the tea, and say all the things you're definitely thinking about but shouldn't say out loud.
We're your hosts. I'm Stephanie with Patricia, and together we're your weekly dose of sass, laughs, and just the right amount of bad decisions.
From sexy stories to petty rants, nothing's off limits. So grab your wine or your drink of choice, loosen your morals, and let's get into it.
Because if we're not bitching,
we're probably moaning. Welcome to Bitchin' and Moaning. We are so excited you guys are with us today. We hope you guys are enjoying the episodes previously. Mm-hmm. We are having a great time doing this.
Yes.
And just, hope you guys are learning things about us and just, being able to bitch and then moan about the things you like. Right. So we are going to start off with our drinks today.
So what do you have today?
Actually,
you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay. Alrighty. So I have a wine. It's a Sky River. It is a blackberry honey wine.
Ooh.
And it is 90% honey and then 10% blackberry flavoring. So I like the honey wines.
You remember this song? Honey, you are my candy girl.
Oh, okay, I know what song.
I know I sound like Celine Dion. Please don't get it.
Yeah, it took me a minute. I'm like, what song is it? Oh, yeah, okay. So I heard that honey wines, if you get a headache from like white wines usually, or a headache in general, is that the honey helps with that. Oh, and I have noticed that. So I like to try and find honey wines when I can, because I don't end up having as much of a headache or as less of a headache when you had a little too much or whatever.
Yes.
So
I didn't know that. I didn't know that about honey, but that's really good. Sounds good. I have to try that afterwards.
So what do you have today?
So my bitching is going to be a little elaborate. So I brought out the hard stuff.
Oh, goodness.
So I was actually at a place where you can buy alcohol and stuff, and I ran into this amazing woman. She was so nice, and she was sampling some of this called Crooz, Crooz.
Okay.
And besides wine, I like to drink vodka, and I like flavored vodka. And I usually don't put anything in it like juice or anything because of the sugars in it. Right. It does give me a headache. So I just drink it on the rocks, because now that the flavor, like blueberry or raspberry, whatever, I'll just put like a splash of water in it, And I don't do that often. I don't drink like that. That's if like we're going out for a real crazy night, But anyway, so she's like, well, I have this new drink, this Crooz drink, and it is vodka and water. Oh, and I was like, no way. So they have different flavors. Let me tell you the wonderful flavors they have. They have blue raspberry, fruit punch, green apple, and lemon lime. And so I have the lemon lime one. It has, I think, 4.5% alcohol, so it's not like going to knock you out on the floor or anything like that. But it is. It's just like, it's vodka and water.
Wow.
And it's in a little can. It only has 90 calories, so that's also great, too. And sometimes I like to just grab a can of something like a seltzer or something, and this is perfect. So I bought some, and I love it. We're gonna watch our social media, because I did do a little interview with her, and
awesome.
She'll tell you the story of how this became, and it's very, very interesting. I love entrepreneurs. I love people that are thinking outside the box. So I got my Crooz today.
So the fruit punch sounds amazing.
Oh, it is. It is. It tastes like juice, really.
And you said the other one was like a blue
raspberry. Blue raspberry and fruit punch. Oh. And then the green apple is green apple. It's got a taste. So yeah. But there's them. So cheers. It's really good. All right. Yummy.
Love my blackberries.
Whew.
All right.
You want to go ahead and start your bitching?
Yeah, I'll start my bitching. Okay. So we did a little teaser. I spent the last 4 days, or 3.5, in Breckenridge, Colorado. It was my 1-year wedding anniversary. Yay. So, yeah, all the fireworks and stuff. So, so it was a real nice little getaway. The temperature was great. It was like I hated to come home because it was like 90 degrees, and it was like the low was in the low 40s, and then about 60s for the high. It was perfect fall weather.
That is nice.
We'll put up a couple pictures of what the scenery looked like. It was amazing. And then on the way back, we actually got to see some snow on the top of the mountain.
Really?
So we got 2 for 1.
Nice.
Very cool. So anyway, so that's why I was out of town. But my bitching is if y'all are regular watchers, you know about our travel woes and podcasts that we had. And at the time, you had asked me about, have you ever had a horrible experience? And I was like, no, I can't really think of one, And I'm like, you never say anything like that, because the minute you say something, you have the worst experience ever. So I'm going to bitch about the flight out.
Let's hear it.
So we always like to get to the airport early just to check in. You never know, right? And especially the shutdown that just happened, right? And so it was like, we didn't know what was going to happen. So our flight was supposed to take out about 5 p.m. So we left around noon, got to the airport at 1, had the best Uber driver ever. Nice. Man, he pulled up in this big caddy. It was nice. He was dressed really nice. I felt like I was kind of like a celebrity with this guy, but just a great driver. We've had experiences where some not so much, but so the way there was great. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be an amazing trip. So we get there, and we ended up having 4 gate changes and 3 time changes, and we had to bounce from Terminal A to Terminal C. And if you've ever flown out of DFW, that means taking the Skylink back and forth. So we had that. We didn't know why it took so long. So we're assuming it was probably mechanical, because they had to get a plane from LA or something. So anyway, we're sitting around there, and we're like, okay, all right, we're not at work, whatever, trying to make a good situation. Okay. Well, we didn't fly out until like 9:30. So we're already 4 hours behind, right? We're taxiing, maybe in the air by 10. So then we get there. The flight was pretty quick. It wasn't bad, no turbulence. So that was okay. Yeah. Then we land. And so we landed in Denver. And then it took us 3 hours to get my check bag. My husband doesn't check a bag. So 3 hours to do that in the rental car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we didn't.
Was it because the lines were long, or?
Well, for the rental car, yes. So when we got to get the check bag, the problem there is, okay, we don't see our flight number, but everybody we saw on our flight was gone. So we look, just like your experience where they send you an email instead of a text, we start checking emails. My bag arrived earlier than I did. It got on it. So it was there for like 30 minutes. So we're standing around in baggage claim for like an hour waiting. So by the time we got our rental car and left, it was like 1:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then we had a 2-hour drive to get to where we stayed in Breckenridge. So by the time we got checked into the hotel, it was 3:30 a.m. Mountain Time. So my mind is 4:30 a.m. Central Time, right?
Wow.
So it was the longest day ever. And they only had 2 people at the rental counter. And I was like, why aren't there more people here? And the line was wrapped like an amusement park. It was, and it was like people get off the bus to get there, and there would be like 10 people. And I'm like, okay, but I'm not at home, trying to find
any. We were together.
Yeah, we were together. So I'm like, okay, let me find the silver lining.
One of these would have came in handy. You just, you know what? I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in a airport.
Yes. So
I'm not in front of a computer.
I have now had my horrible flight experience.
I'm so sorry.
Never. Yeah. Hey, but again, I was on vacation. I didn't have to go to work. But that was just a nightmare. And all I could do was laugh. And I'm like, that teaches me to say things like that. Don't ever say, I've never done that, or I've never heard of that, because it will happen to you within a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I think also the more you start traveling, the more you're going to see that stuff happens, and it's really out of your control. And the people that are screaming and yelling at the airports, I mean, these poor people who work at the airport, we have family and friends that work there, and they just get pounced on. I remember one of my family members who works for a major airline, a 5-hour wait in line to go to the customer service area, and these people are just yelling and yelling and yelling. And the people on the other side of the counter are still human beings, right? They're still trying to do their job, trying to get these people out as best they can. They have no control of a plane or mechanical experience, or Mother Nature for that matter. We talked about that in our last episode, or one of the other episodes. they can't control it, all I can do is just tell you, I'm sorry, and let's figure out how we can get you to where you need to go. And if it's not right now, when can it be? You know?
And I have a tendency now, because I think of that, to go, are you doing okay today? You know, because again, it's like nobody asks how they're doing, and they've probably been bombarded so much that it's nice to go, you know, I'm so sorry.
Right.
You kind of think to them,
know.
and hopefully, again, your experience is better, but then you actually show you care.
Exactly. It's not hard to be nice to people.
Right.
It really isn't, you know. And I think when we talked about it before, I had experienced not so nice people behind the counter in Miami.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me want to not go to Miami ever. Let's just say that. But you know, maybe they have just dealt with it for so long, and now they just have a different attitude because they expect that to happen to them. And that is kind of sad if you're in that industry, because it is customer based. Right. That's it. Yeah. Nothing else. Customer based and safety. Those are the big things, you know. So, and if they've been working there 10 years, they're not going to go anywhere. They just, you know. So I don't know. As a trainer in my past life, I think that they should go through training every 5 or 10 years just to reiterate, you know, the customer service thing, to say, hey, we know you've been in the trenches this long. We give you credit for that, but hey, let's try this, because not everybody's like that, you know? So that's just my thought as a trainer, you know. But.
So I have one more bitch tied to that. So the altitude, okay, I don't know what we are here, but it's low, right? So driving up through the mountains, I'd heard of altitude sickness, and so driving up, I think Breckenridge is like 10,000 feet in the air. Is that right? Above sea level. Yeah, in the air. That was ridiculous. Above sea level. So we're driving up, and all of a sudden my chest is hurting, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so tight. What is wrong with me? And it's like, so I start looking up altitude sickness and like HAPE, which is that, I can't even remember, but it's something pulmonary edema or something.
Lord,
high
girl.
altitude pulmonary edema, which can lead to nosebleeds because you're drying out, and my head is pounding, and my husband's like, okay, are you gonna be okay? And I said, oh no, as long as I'm not bleeding, I don't think I need to go to the ER. But it's like, if you start feeling this, you need to go to the ER now. And so I'm like, he's like, okay, breathe in through your nose, out, make sure you're filling your lungs. But yeah, it takes like 24 hours, and I had the worst headaches there. So I don't like the altitude either. It's beautiful, but that pissed me off, because I'm like, I'm sorry, honey, if we have to go to the ER on our anniversary trip. It was like, so the altitude, not a fan of it, got acclimated it, you know, but that time you're leaving. So I was a little mad at the whole altitude and stuff. And there was one flight of stairs we would walk up, and we both were like doing it a step at a time, and then the other foot comes up, and we get around the corner. It's like, God, what is wrong with us? We are not like old, and we are not horribly out of shape. And like, this sucks, you know. So bitching about the altitude, not a fan of that either, but love the scenery. It's a gorgeous state.
It affects people differently. You know, some people it does, some people it doesn't, you know. And probably, like you were saying, if you stayed a little longer, you'd probably adjust to it, because it is a change for us here, you know. I don't really ever have an issue with that. I've noticed when I travel and I go to wildernessy places or woodsy places, which I do love to do, you know, I love to do it. I start to break out in a rash.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it's what's in the air, what's in the trees, what's in the pines. I don't know what it is, but it takes a couple of days. But by the time I get back home, I'm like, I'll get like little rash spots or on my legs, and it's just very weird. And so I don't know why it's happened to me 3 times already, and I think I've narrowed it down to that environment, you know.
It could be something blowing around, you know, gets on your skin.
But I love going to those type of places, and Colorado's so beautiful. Your pictures were amazing. They were so awesome.
Beautiful place. So that's my bitching, tying it back into the other podcast. So all right, so what's your bitching for today? You said it's a little heavy, and you know, here, I'll take a sip too, just so I prepare for what you're going to say.
I'm going to put down my little drink so I can look at my notesies. So here's, let me preface this. I don't even know how to speak today. Preface this. I am super close with my kids, super close, and I'm pretty close with my stepkids. You know, obviously, I came into their lives when they were a little bit older, in their 20s. So, you know, you create a different bond with them, but they're great boys, and I love them. And you know, I had mentioned before that I had a husband who passed away, and I'm still very close to his oldest daughter, and I think I told you his other daughter is, you know, disabled. But I miss them so much. I miss talking to them. I do talk to the oldest periodically, which is wonderful. I miss her so much. But I'm very close to my crew, as I call them, and their significant others. I feel like they're just like our family too, you know? So my bitch is that I have a hard time when people are not close to their children. Okay. I know that's a heavy one, and I'm going to give you some examples why people may not be close to their children. My mom and I were very close. She was very close with me and my sisters, but there were times where she would check out for certain reasons, and we're going to probably touch on those on what I'm going to talk about. But it was hurtful. It was so hurtful when you don't have a good connection with your kids, and I think it's pretty shitty too.
Yeah.
You know, you had children, you and your partner, whatever, whether you planned it, whether you didn't, they're
Adopted.
here. You know, they're here. You could have adopted, in vitro, whatever, surrogacy. Those little humans that grow up to be amazing people are blessings in this world. Whether we want to agree with me or not, they are blessings in this world. And for you to not have a relationship with them, whether they're little bitty, whether they're teenagers, whether they're adults, is shitty. Let me just say that as a parent. And you can all come for me, but I would defend my children and my stepchildren and their significant others to no end, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you about 12 traits of what happens when parents who aren't close with their kids, or adult kids. We're going to just talk about adult kids right now. So these are according to some psychologists. So one is, parents sometimes have these unreal expectations of kids, right? You have your kid, they're little, they're middle school, they're teenagers, and you know, you can control most of what's going on in their life when they're younger. But once they hit adulthood, whether that's 18 or 21, whatever you think adulthood is, you know, they are adults now, right? Now, the dynamic should change, not just because they're adults, but also because their life is changing. They may be going to college. They may be getting their own apartments or getting their first jobs or their first houses or whatever. So you have to change with that.
Right.
I know. You and I know. We are so much alike with this kind of stuff. We were helicopter moms. We were overbearing moms. We were what else? Enabling moms, right?
Heavily involved in everything. Yeah.
And these are just the titles that people give out now.
Right.
For us, it was like, well, we're their mom.
Mom.
We should be there. Why would we be there?
Exactly. Why would
that's crazy. Why isn't that mom there?
Yes.
You know, so those are little titles that everybody's given now.
Today.
But that's what we were, and we're fine with it, really. You know, our kids, knock on wood, they grew up to be really great adults, but they still have challenges now, and we still support them now, whatever those challenges are. So the unrealistic expectations are just thinking that they're still those little kids, you know, they still have to do what you say they have to do. And if you don't, then I'm not going to speak to you or whatever, you know. Or maybe somebody you wanted them to be a doctor, and they're just like, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be a mechanic, you know? And it's like, but no, you have to be a doctor. Those are unrealistic expectations, you know? Just let them be them. Let them be creative. Let them go out in the world and find things. They have to learn how to fall and get back up, but just be there for that, right? So that's one. Let's try another one. Lack of boundaries.
Yes.
I'm going to let you give some examples. I know you have some, but I'll refer back to my mom again. My mom had no boundaries. She didn't understand what boundaries were. So she was a amazing mother. She took care of me and my sisters. She, blood, sweat, and tears for us. She worked as many jobs as she needed to get us to grown women, and even as she got older, she still loved to work and loved to be productive and all that. We always called her the Energizer Bunny because she was just, going all the time, and she couldn't just sit down and relax. That was my mom. However, she just always overstepped the boundaries when we became adults. She said things that were hurtful. She got herself involved in our personal lives as far as like relationships, our kids, stuff like that. Right. And you try to go, hey, Mom, this doesn't include you. This, right. I appreciate it, but don't, But she would always overstep it. And then she would get mad. She would get mad.
Oh, okay.
So she would hold a grudge. She wouldn't talk to us. And we were the first ones who had to apologize. It didn't matter what. She was never wrong.
Yeah.
She was never wrong. We always had to apologize. I'm thinking, aren't you the parent?
Yeah.
You are the parent that you should be apologizing and going, you know what? I may have overstepped that boundary. Or even if you didn't want to admit that, just say, hey, I know we're not in a good place. Can we talk about it?
Right.
But no.
Yeah, I think it's just accountability and reflection as a parent. It's like you have to think about your behavior as well and go, okay, why are they mad for a reason? Or what happened? It's like, well, let me reflect on what happened in that moment. Or what did I say? Maybe the communication was off and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Yeah, so to me, it's like you have to, as a parent, you have to reflect and think about, okay, put yourselves in their position and how would you be receptive to that.
Do you remember when you were that age? Do you remember how you spoke and what you were thinking of? You were thinking you were invincible. These kids always do. They always think that they don't know what they're talking about. I know everything. My way is the right way. That's great. We're so grateful that we raise confident, smart, intelligent humans. I love that. But you want to be able to have some kind of communication with them, even if you disagree with them. Even you got to show those boundaries. And I'll tell you one little thing that happened to me once. It happened with me and one of my kids, and they were in a relationship with somebody and loved that person, right? And I might have said this before, but I asked two things for my kids. They go to Easter Mass or Easter church with me and Christmas church with me. Those are the two things I asked for because now they all have significant others. And so, and that's a big thing. You can do whatever you need to. Just give me those 2 days out of the year, right? So it was Easter and my one kid is like, I ain't coming. And I'm like, what? No, you're coming. That's where the controlling, right? You're coming. He's like, no, I'm not coming. And I'm like, what? And I really thought he was kidding with me. So we go to Easter church and he never showed up. And I was devastated. I sat in church crying. I was crying at Easter church because my kid wasn't there. And you know what was really sad about that? Again, I had to learn boundaries, is that the person he was with, they chose to go to their church on Easter. So why am I crying?
Yeah.
My kid is at church.
They're at least at church.
I couldn't be happier, but it was just, you got to disconnect. You've got to keep those boundaries. And, we got together at Easter for dinner or lunch or whatever. And I was still kind of hurt. And I just said, hey, I just wish you would have came, but I understand that you went to that. And if that's you going to do that going forward, I accept that, Right. But we had to have a conversation about it. We had to have a talk about it. He thought I was pissed off, and I was like, I wasn't pissed off. I was just like,
I was hurt.
Yeah, you're my baby,
And
but
it's always been this way.
Always.
Our whole
life.
questions.
No questions. And even if new people come into our family, our little crew, we have to have discussions about it.
Right.
I'm actually a little bit, since that, I'm a little bit less, I'm just like, okay, I can handle this now. Right. So now I ask all of them, what's your schedule? What is your significant other's schedule? How are we going to work this? If we have to have, Christmas on another day, we're going to have it on another day. If we have to have Easter on another day, we'll have it, So I've come a full circle on that, but it did take me a minute, and it was a big conversation.
I can relate to you on that. I think I came around a little bit sooner than you because my eldest got married,
right? Yeah,
and it's always been Christmas Eve. My mom, growing up, we always went to my mom and dad's on Christmas Eve, and that's just the way it was. We all went there, all of us that were in town. And my parents are both passed now. My dad in 2013, my mom in 2020. And ever since then, way to honor them was to still do Christmas Eve.
Together, yeah.
Still do chili at night, because that's what my mom did. And so that's the only thing I want. Well, now that I have one that's married, and her husband is up from the Panhandle, so his parents live up there. And he doesn't get to go home very often for holidays, so they were always coming here. And so I had to start thinking, as a mom, I should probably share, because I would be devastated if my kids never came home for Christmas.
Right.
And so they have gone back, and I was like, you know what, we'll just do it on a different day. Yeah. It's not Christmas Eve.
I know.
But things change, but it's just a different dynamic. But Christmas Eve doesn't have to be that day. We could do it on New Year's Eve, right? As long as we're together during the holidays, right? So I can relate to that a lot. It's like you have to, they have their significant other, and then you have those other families, and then the family just gets bigger, and it's like, it's just more difficult. So that's, as a parent, that's where you just kind of have to, we raised our kids to live their life, and as hard as it is, it's like
one day it's just going to be me and Stephanie having pizza.
Yeah, when we're 95, we're going to be sharing a house together, kind of thing in our old age, whatever. But yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah,
and the expectations one as well, because I think it changed with our kids' generations, where it used to be you went to college, become a teacher, a doctor, or a lawyer, right? Well, with technology and everything, it's so much broader. There's so many things that they could do. So what I was picturing for my kids, you have to go to school to get a career. But I was always like, what do you want to do that's passionate? I don't want you to end up in a job. I've been grateful for the jobs I've had, right? But I didn't go to school to do my job today.
A lot of these kids that get degrees don't have, they're not in what their job is, their degree is in either.
Exactly. So the expectations of that change based on the way the world is today. So what I expected them to do and have the 9-to-5 job just isn't that way anymore. So I think that's another thing. And like from our time to what our kids are now, there was a big change in that. It's not brick and mortar building anymore. It's podcasts, it's influencers, social media is huge.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it's like if somebody wants to be a comedian. It's like if my parents were here and I was dating a comedian or whatever, my dad would be like, doesn't he need to be a banker or something? Yeah. So I think the expectations, you have to be very fluid with that, and as long as they're passionate and happy in their career, then why wouldn't I be happy for that?
Exactly.
Right. So expectations.
Yeah. Here's another one: opinionated parents. You know what? I am one of those, to be honest. I am very opinionated. When they were younger, I probably said my opinions too much to baseball coaches and football coaches. Sorry, coaches out there, but or parents or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think I was just very passionate about my kids being in whatever activities and protecting them and whatnot. Have I backed off? Yeah. I mean, I might say something privately to them, but I won't call somebody out in front of them. I really try not to do that because I know that bugs them and I don't want to embarrass them, I've done a lot of embarrassing in my time. I'll be honest, I was a hard mom, but I was a single mom too, raising these kids. And so opinionated parents, always telling them what their opinion is and what they think they should do. And it's like, they have their lives now, let them. Or I think this kind of might intertwine with this, but the passive-aggressive parents, don't do that. Don't do that to your kids. Don't do that to their significant others. They don't like it. They don't like it. And what's going to happen is that's going to cause a rift between you and either your kid, or if you're doing it to your kid, to his wife or her wife or her husband or whatever the case may be, or boyfriend or girlfriend, that causes rift between them, and then you're not going to win. Well, if they're married or even if they're not married and they've been in a long-term relationship, you will not come out looking good on this.
No.
Because your kid will turn against you.
Right.
And that's what happens.
They defend because they defend their person, right?
Exactly.
Because that's what we would do as adults, right? We defend our person, our husbands. And so if we're teaching that passive aggressiveness, it's going to eventually come back on us. And then it's like, well, where'd they learn that? Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe they heard it one too many times. So
it's those snide comments. Yeah. If you don't know if you're passive aggressive, don't say backhanded comments to people, you know, or text it to them. You know, that's shitty. Just don't do that. My mom used to do that periodically to us, you know, like she would just make a little comment and like, that kind of stung. Did you really mean to? And then she would always be like, well, English is my second language. I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you do. You know, because you've been in the United States. My mother was, she was an immigrant from Colombia, and she was a nurse, and she did become a United States citizen. The legal way everybody did back then, you know, so screw those people that are pushing those immigrants out, because I think that's shitty too. That's another bitch.
That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. I won't even go there. But my mom would always say about, you know, I don't know the language. I'm like, yeah, you do, lady. You know the language because you're saying it
I like
to
that.
me.
You know the language.
You know the language. My mom used to have an accent, so it was really kind of funny.
Now, with opinionated, that's where we're a little bit different. I seem to be a little more passive. I don't like confrontation. It's what so. But what I knew that about me. I knew that very well, that's kind of how I've always been. But for my girls, I always wanted them to have their opinions. So I always...
And they do now, don't they?
Yes, they do have their opinions.
Them well.
Yes, and so when it comes out where I'm like, well, that was a little too opinionated, or it felt a little forceful in their passion, I'm like, well, that's how I raised them. That's what I wanted them to be, is to be passionate and not be ashamed of what they say or their beliefs or anything. So I'm like, well, I can't really say anything because I would wish I could be more like that.
Right,
Even at this age, it's kind of funny how your traits, Kara. It's like, I wish I could learn to, you know, come out of my shell a little bit. What do you say? Say it with your chest out, right? Type of thing. But I am grateful that both my girls are that way, and they have found their voice, and they're very opinionated.
Okay, here's another one. Excessive criticism. So always criticizing your kids. Again, I'm going to go back to my mom. God love her, you know. It was just, sometimes it was just tough with her. Like I said, I loved her. She lived with me for a while, more than once, you know. And when you live with your mom and your husband or your significant other, you know, sometimes it gets a little tense, period.
Yeah, tense.
But excessive criticism, you know, I don't remember hearing good things about us, you know, my sisters. It was always... we weren't the greatest daughters, and we were so terrible, and we treated her badly. And I'm thinking, that's awful. Like, we are the ones you come to. We are the ones who take care of you. We are the ones who are there for you, you know? And she'd pit us against each other, which sucked so bad. I hated that. I know my sisters hated that. We kind of reflect on that now that she's gone, because, you know, we do miss her tremendously, but it just sucked because there was a lot of times we were fighting, you know, because of something she might have said. And so I try not to do that with my kids. Like, oh, you're not going to believe that this one did that and this one, because I don't want them to pit them against each other. I'm always like, did you call your sister? You need to call your sister, see how she's doing. You need to call your brother. When was the last time you talked to your sister? You know, I always try to get them to be connected with each other, because when I am gone, that's who's left. The three of them and their families, you know. So, the excessive criticism, just even if you think it's like you're being complimentary and you're not, don't do that, because that is going to limit your relationship. Because if you're criticized all the time, do you want to hang out with that person? No, you don't. So,
with my parents, I just remember them being really quiet. So my parents versus your parents are very different. But some of the things you're talking about is, I guess, realized in my head what I was missing or thought I was missing, to where I showered my kids with compliments. I did the exact opposite, because the thing was I wanted to make sure they knew they were loved. I hugged on them, kissed on them.
Me too.
So it's kind of the opposite. It's like, you know, I'm not going to do that to my kids because I didn't like that from my parent. And so that's where I always try to praise them and tell them how proud I was, because again, words last with you, stay with you forever.
Yes, they really do.
And you can never take them back. So in moments like that where you want to criticize or something, you have to go, okay, what is this going to do in the long term? Is this going to be helpful or harmful?
Right.
So, yeah, so I think, that's another good thing to try and think about as well. It's like, is this going to build them up or is it going to bring them down?
Yep. Lack of active listening.
Yes.
So if they're talking, you're not paying attention. My mom used to just run around all the time. She would she'd run around in her kitchen. And so I'd be sitting there talking to her and I don't even know if she's really hearing me because she's multitasking, doing so many other things. And so I say to my kids and even my husband, give me a second. I do what I need to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm looking at you. Right. You have my full attention now of what you're going to say, because if you're saying something and I'm walking away, I can't hear you.
Right.
Or if you're walking away and saying something in the other room, I can't hear you. So just focusing and listening. And I definitely try to do that with my kids to make sure that they hear what I'm saying or what they're saying.
My girls didn't find out that they had one has ADD and one has ADHD. And I started going through that journey with them, realizing that I probably have it, not diagnosed, but just a lot of the behaviors I went that. So again, people that have something like that, it's hard to slow yourself down and calm your mind in a way where you can go, okay, let me just stare at you. My eyes might be bugged out, but I'm really trying to focus and hear you. Yeah. And I think along with that is, let me repeat back what I think I heard you say. Right. So that way they know you're engaged as well. You're not, your brain isn't moving somewhere else. And the other thing is, don't jump ahead assuming they're going to say this. Right. You really have to listen. My husband says you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so, you really have to focus and make sure you're in that moment with them, and then be sure that you heard them the right way. Yes. So perfect. Definitely, that's a hard one for me.
I'm going to skip a couple. How about controlling behavior? Now, remember, these are traits that if you're doing this with your kids, you're not going to have a good relationship with them. You really aren't. So that's why, I'm bitching about this, is because, things happen in our world too that piss me the fuck off, that, family is family. Your kids are your kids, be there for them. Right. Be there. You have hopefully you have 2 parents somewhere in the world, right? And it is a gift. It is a gift to have children, but it's also a gift that these kids that turn to adults are making time for you in their lives. Yeah. We've raised them to do their thing and whatever. And so when they make time for you, you should be there. You should fucking be there. Yeah. It just pisses me off so much. But anyways, the controlling behavior, don't try to control your kids, Don't try to guilt them into shit. I don't care what religion you are. I remember I grew up Catholic, and guilt was like number one. Oh, you are guilted for everything. And it's like, don't do that to them. No. They have lives. They love you and they want to be with you as long as you're not doing these things to them. Yeah. And if you're sitting there guilting them because they're not coming to your house for dinner and they're going to somebody else's house that they had plans for 3 weeks ahead of time, and you want them to come over the next day, that you said, hey, come over because we're doing this. Yeah. Don't do that to them. Be, live your life and flourish in your life, and your kids are going to want to be part of that. Right. I'm a very busy person a lot of the time, but if my kids are in town, I am 100% my kids. If they're not in town, I'd love to spend time with them. Can I come over? Mom, we got stuff going on this weekend. Okay, you know what? Let's try another weekend. Right. When are you free? Never just showing up at their house. Or this is a big thing. Like my mom, I didn't like people in my house when I wasn't there. I didn't care who it was. I have a weird thing. I don't like it. And so my mom, I just wouldn't want her to come to the house when I wasn't there. And she would get furious, pissed. And I'm just like, what the hell? Why are you pissed? Just be respectful. It's my house, I mean, I would never just walk into her house. Some people did, and that's fine. She loved that. I didn't. So you need to respect my boundaries. The boundaries, And don't come to my house unannounced, I know sometimes you're like, surprise, I love surprises. I love surprising my kids, but, they have lives, and you just got to know those boundaries. Right. So, what else I got? Let's see. Oh, how about narcissism?
Oh, yeah.
The parent that thinks, just about themselves, selfishly. Those fucktards that just don't want to do anything for their kids. And, you should be doing things for me. And if you don't fit into my world, then, too bad. Fuck you. Let me just say that. Let me just start there because that pisses me the fuck off. Again, making time for each other with your kids and, and like, again, I said, my mom and I used to have disagreements. She used to have disagreements with everybody, but we had disagreements. And of course, I always had to apologize or she wouldn't talk to me for months, which sucked. Right. And I was just like, no, she's going to apologize. Surely for yelling at me or surely for storming out of my house or some shit like that. But she never did. I always had to. I mean, even it came down to like my wedding, we were in a fight and she wasn't going to come to my wedding. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And everybody's like, you apologize. I'm like, why? For the past umpteen years, I've apologized. Why can't she say, you know what, I'm sorry I did that. Or I'm sorry we got into this, whatever. And, I would only say, I'm sorry, But anyways, so yeah. The parent that is just so fucking narcissistic that they think that, whatever they do is fine and the kid has to apologize is so shitty. Right. Have a conversation. Take responsibility for the shit that you've done to your kids or whatever the argument was about because you know what? That kid is not going to want to be with you. Right. They're not going to want to spend time with you. Yeah. And,
agree with that. So I need to take a drink on that because that was a lot. You had a lot to say with this, so let me get a sip. Okay. Because I'm going to add something to that. Yeah. So, and I can probably talk a little freely with this because my girl's dad was married to a woman, and I don't know a lot of her background or whatever, but when they were married, my girls suffered a lot because her idea was if it would have to be her two children, they had one together, so the three of them, and then the girl's dad, and then her. It was all or nothing. And so he was not allowed, because he's trying to keep peace in his marriage, to come to things and just have a relationship and support his children. So it was all about her and what she wanted.
What kind of woman, let me just say, what kind of woman does that? Please, that is a fucking pathetic ass person who marries somebody who has children and then doesn't let them be part of their life. Right. And shitty of that other spouse, whether it be a wife or a husband, if they're married to somebody and then they go, okay, I won't do that because you don't want me to, then you're a shitty mom or you're a shitty dad. Period. That's all there is to it.
And that's how I felt back then. And a lot of that was when they were, I know we were talking about adults, but, a lot of that shaped. And I had to have a talk with him and say, do you understand you're losing your children? Yeah. And eventually things are better now with them. But yeah, there were a lot of years that were lost because somebody else dictated what type of relationship he could have with his kids. Pathetic. And it would put myself in that position. Or my husband doesn't have any children, but if he did, you go spend time with your kids. Those are your children. I don't have to be there all the time, right? It is not about me. It's about you. They're going to want to have time with you. They don't always want me around. So cultivate that relationship through their children up until adulthood. Go take a trip with them, do whatever. But it should be, that's the way you should look at it. It should be about, if you love somebody, you want to encourage it. Those are their children.
God, of course.
So so there was a lot of times where that made me very angry.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And so just because I'm like, I don't get it. As a parent, how can you not encourage your spouse to go spend time with their children? Don't miss out on these things that are happening with it because you can't get that time back.
You can't. You really can't.
Once it's gone, it's gone, and the damage is done.
If you are a jerk to your kid in special events or special moments, you think they're going to invite you back? They're not. Right. They're going to move on and not have you part of anything in their life. And don't be surprised.
Right.
Just don't be surprised.
What usually happens is like, they say it happens to all people. It's like, don't look back at your life on your deathbed and have regrets like, why didn't I spend time with my kids, or why didn't I do this? And
or that your kids are not there.
Right. Why aren't they there? Because
and you're alone.
Right. That's what happens is you've done all of this leading up to that point. It should be no surprise that they aren't there for you.
Right.
So why are you waiting till whenever it is later in life to go,
too late,
I wish, it's too late. And then, you can't, again, time is so precious, you can't get it back. So you really need to think about these things in the moment, because that dictates 20, 30, 40 years.
Yep.
Are you really going to be alone?
Or
and
grandkids. Wait till all our kids, all our kids right now are just really starting their lives out and their careers and all that kind of stuff. So none of them, we don't have grandchildren yet.
Right, yeah.
But they will
They're
be
coming.
coming. Oh yeah, we raised our kids to, want kids and be a family and stuff, but you treat your kids like this. They don't want to be with you. You think they're going to let your kids around you?
Oh yeah.
Hell no. They will not.
Well, and that's where boundaries, talking about boundaries, it's like, well, okay, maybe I want to be just like I was with my grandkid, and they're like, well, you have to remember it's your grandkid. You're not the parent anymore.
Oh, I'm going to spoil my grandkid.
You have to, but you have to respect your kids and how they're raising them. And it's like, okay, I gotta check myself. Let me just take them for ice cream, right? I think you have to think about these things once you have grandkids, because then it turns into that whole boundary thing. You better have got it with your kids, because you're going to get checked once they start having their own kids. This is what I'm going to do with my kids, and you need to back the fuck off. It's like
this one kind of goes along with narcissism, but the self-absorbed without self-awareness.
Yes.
Come in like a tornado and then go, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Dumbass.
Yeah.
People just, I'm not saying that about my mom, but my mom did do that a lot. She's like, I didn't do anything. It's like, no, Mom, you did. Just, can we talk about it? Can we figure it out? And, so, but yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Just, you play a part in their lives. They want you in their lives, but not being like this.
I think you just have to think, if you want them in as part of your life as an adult, you have to start when they're children, because I notice now with my girls, it's like and you probably have this with your kids too, where the dynamic has changed, where it's not the parent-child, it's a friendship. And they call and they talk to you, and I'm so grateful to hear about
I love it.
anything they have to say, where I'm like, I don't care what it's about. Talk to me about, did the garbage go today? I don't care, It's like, was it a white truck or a green truck? I don't care.
And the thing
because
is, too,
they're calling.
The thing is, too, I let my kids, kind of, I have different dynamics with all my kids, but if I don't hear from one for a day or two, I'll call them and be like, how's your day going? Or let's have lunch, or let's have dinner or something. They could tell me, oh, nothing's new. I'm fine. Everything's great.
Yeah.
But I heard them. I was interested in what they were talking about, and what if something had happened within those couple of days that we didn't talk, and maybe they needed to talk to somebody, So I always reach out to them every couple of days. I have one that we talk every day.
Yeah.
But again, different dynamics with each kid,
Yeah, for me, it's like I have one that has a very random schedule. My oldest does nannying, and then she has like dog boarding and things like that. So her schedule's kind of all over the place. And then I have another one that went back to school, so hers a little more structured, and she's doing an internship. But I've kind of, like these traits with your parents, some of those traits, they aren't necessarily bad traits, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm like my mother. I sound like my mother, where like if they call me or I'll call them, I'm like, I know you're busy, so I'll let you go. And I went, oh my God, my mother used to tell me that all the time. That I'm like, she was thinking like, I don't want to bother you. I know you have things to do. But then I say the same thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should, okay, stop it. Let them quit talking, and then let them decide when it's over, instead of going, well, I should let you go, you know, kind of thing. But it's just kind of funny. It's like, I'm so grateful that they call whenever they call, but I have a tendency to wait, because their schedules are all over the place, and it's hard to know. I don't want to.
Well, sometimes I think what's nice. I don't mean to interrupt you, but what's nice now is we have text, so you can say, "Hey, when you have a minute, let's call me, or let's," because I do that to them too because
Right,
they all have
yeah.
jobs and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah,
so.
for me, texting is great for that because you don't know their schedule. But so my oldest usually calls me more, and she has like a 45-minute drive home.
Yeah.
And I think you do too.
Yeah,
One of yours is,
yeah.
and so that's when they'll call when they're
Yeah.
driving to keep them at least enough where they don't think about rush hour traffic and the
Right.
crazy ass drivers that are cutting everybody off. But I'll hear, and my oldest will usually go, man, that guy just, I don't know why he stopped in the road. And I'm like, well, at least, I'm here. So then we can come back to the conversation. But yeah, I think it's not a bad distraction where they're not paying
Right.
attention, but it's a good distraction so they don't get wrapped up in the stress of that. So
exactly.
yeah.
And then you've had time with them, and then they can go home
Yes.
to their husbands or
Right.
significant others and spend quality time with them.
Right.
They don't have to be on the phone with their mom or
Right.
their dad or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the last one, the divergent values. So basically, as they get older, you lay the foundation for them. Most families do. You're either Christian or you're Hindu or whatever, your religion, religious beliefs, your political beliefs, your, all that kind of stuff. And then they go up and they turn 18, 19, 20, and they're like, wait, I don't want to go to church anymore.
Yeah.
Or, well, I'm not, I don't like that president, or well, I don't even want to talk politics anymore.
Right,
There's so
yeah.
many different things. So respecting those boundaries of each individual kid of what they believe in. We
Right.
have 5 20-something-year-olds who all believe a little differently with different kind of stuff, but the foundation of family is always still
Right.
important. We might all have different political views or different religious views or whatever, but we try to really be respectful of each other. Sometimes we have little kind of,
Yeah.
debates in our house, and they're kind of fun, but I try to keep them, be like, don't
Right.
fight with your brother or sister, don't fight with whoever, just hear them out. And,
Right.
they like to mess with each other. I'll give
Yeah.
you that. But I always try to bring it back.
Right.
That's your sister, that's your brother, that's your
Yeah.
sister, whatever it is, and I want them to be respectful to each other and hear
Yeah.
each other out.
Well, and I think a lifestyle falls in that as well, because one of my daughters is very eco-friendly. And so there are some things where I'm like, it's a little bit different than maybe I would believe, but I always want to hear why they believe that way, or try to understand it, and maybe I'll learn something. Again, it's like, that's not exactly how I would live my life, but I want to learn why you made those choices or why you think that way. So so I think that's another thing, is their lifestyles. Maybe I may be the straight and narrow and I'm very conservative or whatever, and then I might have one that is a liberal doing whatever, and it's like, but that's their life. But at the core of it, are they a good person? Did I raise them to be a good person? And that's what you want.
Yeah,
right?
us as parents, again, we might not agree with them. We might kind of go, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, and I don't understand that, That's fine, but that's their beliefs.
Right.
And you know what? If that's what you want to do, go do it.
Right.
I don't have to tell you you're whacked out of your mind. I don't have to tell you that that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. No, just, okay, interesting, I learned something new, but that's your life, you do it.
And
As long as nobody's hurting anybody and they're not hurting themselves or whatever, then
I think with that, it's all about respect, right? As a parent, you need to respect them and let them make their own choices, and what they do with them, they'll succeed or fail in whatever they do. But I think it's about respecting whatever they want to do. So
so just a couple of tips to help you heal that relationship, in case any of you idiots out there don't have a nice relationship with your kids. Shame on you. And come at me, go ahead, I don't care. Just acknowledging the harm and taking responsibility. Whatever harm you did to them, like I said with my mom, she wouldn't, and as she got older, she was even more stubborn. But at the ending, it wasn't good. It wasn't good with my sisters. We did not have a good ending with my mom, and I don't know if she'll regret that in wherever she's at, or it saddened all of us the way she ended everything. I mean, she didn't end her life. She had cancer, but it was just awful. It was just awful, and I don't want my kids to go through any of that. So pull up your fucking diapers and, tell your kids you love them, because they may not be around. You don't know how long people are in this world. And be a parent. Be a fucking parent. That's what I'm going to say. And again, come at me.
So just this was years ago. My mom, when I was little, I was like 4 or 5. She worked at JCPenney's, and talking about how parents don't have a relationship with their kids. We've always been a close family. Well, my mom works with a lady, and I guess it was coming up on the holidays, and my mom was saying, you're going to see your kids or whatever. And she goes, and she was an older lady, so her kids were adults, and she's like, I haven't seen my kid in years. I don't even know where some of them are. And my mom thought that was the strangest thing she had ever heard, because that wasn't how she was raised. Her family was close. We were all close, and my siblings are 9 to 13 years older than me, so I was like an only child at the time. But still, we were all really close. But yeah, my mom thought that was such a foreign thing. How are you not close with your children? So that ties back into this. It's like, I don't get it. I saw it in schools, like parents didn't even come to activities. It's like, I never saw them in 4 years. And it's like, is this a babysitting club for you? Yeah. So it's the checking out.
When it comes to the school stuff too, we get that we all have jobs, we all have to work, but here and there, come to your kids' thing. These kids are putting so much. I remember towards the end of my kids' high school career and the beginning of their college, most of their college, I was the only one there.
Right.
Me and my mom were the only one there. And I'm just like, what? You miss out.
Yeah.
You miss out on, family day. You miss out on whatever day. And you miss out on the first of everything.
Right.
The first of you miss out. And it's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I was there and I was part of my kids' world and continue to be part of their world of first of everything. So I'm very proud of that.
I think, like you were talking about with those, maybe people aren't even aware that they're doing some of these things. So,
no, some of them are.
But I think for somebody that might be listening that went, oh, I didn't realize that was something I did, and hearing from us that,
true.
Oh, I didn't realize it was going to have that effect. So hopefully that will help someone to, have an epiphany moment, like I like to say, and then go, oh, well, maybe I need to change that and look at it differently. So, we're all about teaching and learning. And so I think that those are things where I think about where I didn't necessarily have that, but I did the opposite because I knew in my life I didn't like it.
Right.
So, mine, I don't know, I just looked at it that way, but it's never too late to change, make differences.
It's not. So we're going to be wrapping it up, I guess, now.
Yep.
That was my bitching.
That was a lot of bitching.
That was a lot of bitching. I'm very passionate about my family. I know you are. That's what makes us so close in a lot of things, Let's go to our moaning.
So, why don't you start with your moaning?
Okay,
Let me hear what you have.
Well, I was lucky enough, a friend of mine, thank you so much, a friend of mine asked me to go to the Dua Lipa concert this week. Oh my God. If you don't know who she is a kind of pop singer, and she is beautiful. Beautiful inside and out. She's kind of young. I think she's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. I don't know. But she is gorgeous. Gorgeous. I mean, she can sing. We went to a concert in Dallas and saw her, and her body is amazing. I mean, I was like, dang, woman, dang. She was beautiful. And she had these fun change of costumes. And every couple songs she'd shoot out like confetti, different color types of confetti and stuff. And
it sounds so fun.
She was dancing her butt off, and her butt was just nice. She had like all these kind of like corset kind of outfits on, and these little, what do they call those? The nylons with the
garters, garter belts and stuff.
And she was dancing away, and her little butt was kind of sticking out a little bit. And I was like, Jesus, woman, she's beautiful. Like, my son loves her. She actually is his little screensaver on his phone because she's hot as hell. But she was, I think, besides the fact that she's so talented and she can dance and sing and all that, she seems like just such a naturally nice person. She came out to the audience, one side of the audience, and was talking to people and taking pictures of them, looking at their signs, and, just really, like, so nice. And then she was talking about, like, she had on her social media, she was talking about Dallas, and they had the Texas, Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders come out, and she was talking about meeting them, how she was so excited to meet them. And she's a huge pop star, and she was just level-headed and so cute, and I loved every minute of it. And she was hot as hell. I mean,
I'll have to check that out.
But she's just so talented. And what I was going to say is that she's naturally beautiful. Like, I saw her little prep before she went on stage, and very little makeup. She just has that natural look, and then she has this beautiful long like auburn hair that just glitters and glows, and it's just a little wavy, and it's just the naturally beautiful women, I think, are just amazing. And the audience and just having a great time, and I loved it. I love men, but I can appreciate those women.
Well, there's beautiful women everywhere, so it's like you can appreciate beauty in all forms, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, that's my moaning and my bitching. Thanks for listening. I know I bitched a lot today, but thanks for letting me get off my chest.
So do we
want with my chest?
Yeah, chest out. So do we want to do a little teaser about something that might be coming up this week?
Yes.
So, we are taking a little trip somewhere. We won't tell you where.
This time we're going together.
We're going together, so look out. We won't say where, but that city, look out, because here we come.
Here we come. Painting it red.
Yes. So
red and black.
Yes. So we're going to do a lot of little, reels, I guess call it, little snippets of things of what we're doing. So y'all definitely need to come back and watch that. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, and I guess we'll just
leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
So don't forget to keep bitching and moaning,
right?
And we will see you this week sometime.
All right.
All right.
Bye, y'all.